Welcome back to another episode of the Real Me podcast. Back to doing the screen videos. Zoom videos sharing my screen. That's what I'm back to doing. Now, in this episode, I'm going to be talking about a truth that I'm going to not preach, not project, but just share. Because this is the podcast where I share all of my truths. I share all my beliefs. I give you who I am in each of these episodes, I share my own truth, personal sense of um truth about me. Um, and I'm sort of feeling this insecurity, like, is the episode that I posted today published? It is, because it will always be published. You've hit publish, it will go through. Why wouldn't it be? So that's what it is, because I'm saying it here and I don't need to check. The previous time I've checked, it got published. So anyway, nonetheless to say, I hope that didn't ruin the video. I hope they didn't ruin what I'm about to say here, but I'm not about redoing things. So, I've been wanting to kind of compartmentalize these things, hold them in a little bit. But, still, whatever the feeling is, it is, it's going to surface or whatever when I do videos, when I talk, when I do all this kind of thing. So, um, what I'm here to talk about today is, really what it means to live from a soul-centered place. What it means to live from your soul. What it means to live from authentic place inside of you that just loves yourself, values yourself, gives yourself love and care and attention. And you do what you're passionate about. You do what feels right in your intuition. You do what, excuse me, you do what feels right on an intuitive level, because your intuition, um, your intuition is your guiding compass. Okay. All right. So your intuition, your guiding compass. Your intuition is your inner guiding compass that tells you, okay, this is the right way to go. This is the right thing to do. This is where I should be heading in my own personal life. This is the right path to go down. This is what feels right. These are the kind of relationships I should be having based off of what feels right for me. These are the kind of relationships that are a good asset and credit to my energy. They are compatible to my energy. They are good for my energy because they lift me up. They make me feel inspired. They make me feel passionate. They make me feel very, very motivated. They make me feel um grounded, content, earthbound, very, very calm and very, very stable and feeling good inside of myself. That's what these relationships can bring. The soul is our most authentic part of who we are, tied in right to our intuition, or in a guiding compass, into who we are. And in the soul, you are not divisive. You are not crazy. You are not selfish. You are loving others because you love yourself, because you love yourself. And that's really the truth of it. You love others because you love yourself. You respect others because you respect yourself. That's why self-love is so important because we just accept ourselves as we are and accept what we're going through, accept our healing processes, accept our wounds, our weaks, our disadvantages, our strengths, all of that kind of thing. And when we can accept that and be in the energy of love ourselves, we really, really have a long, really great miles to go. Um, that is huge. That is, really, really huge. Um, it's showing that we care about ourselves and for ourselves. When we are authentic to ourselves, we are also loving to others naturally. When we show ourselves that love and care and gentleness and tenderness and appreciation and acceptance, we naturally get that to others because we have a full cup, because we have a cup that is overflowing with water and with gold energy. We have that cup to overflow with. We have that cup that's overflowing and that we can give that to others because we love ourselves. We have our own cup filled up. That way we can give to others. You can't pour from an empty cup. They say, put your oxygen mask on first before you do help others. And you're meant to put yourself first. You're meant to take care of your own well-being. I mean, to prioritize your own mental, emotional, psychological, spiritual, and physical well-being before you help others. Being self-aware is also really, really important. Being self-aware of your thoughts and your emotions and how they impact others. How what you do impacts others is really, really important. Um, Recognizing with self-awareness, where are you in your ego and where are you in your soul? Which extreme are you in? And you don't need the outside world to tell you if you're in your ego or your soul because you know inside yourself. I think that we should know which part of, if we know, just the different energies of the ego and the soul feels more calm, more open, more expansive, more true, more sovereign, more grounded, more loving, and more inside out. The ego is more wanting to prove a point to something, very, very angry, um, really, really defensive, very, very reactive, wanting to make yourself bigger and better, very, very prideful. There's this contracted energy where it doesn't feel light and loose. It's a contracted energy where you're in that tight space where you're in your mind in those, tight, emotions, and you're not dropping in to your soul and what feels true. You're not surrendering to truth because you don't feel like you can win a battle in this relationship. So you have to play the ego game. Well, guess what? You don't. Whenever I find myself in that tendency to become egoic, I will not do that. And I will drop into my truth and sovereignty. And that also becomes involving being courageous and being assertive with yourself. Um, Being courageous and assertive within yourself to act and to be in your truth, to be in your sovereignty, to stand firm in your identity. Do not let anyone walk all over you so that you don't have to be a martyr and have your boundaries crossed and have to people please. And uh I think what was I saying here? Um loving yourself so deeply and so much that you are willing to be courageous. You're willing to stand up for, that thing no matter what. You're willing to um you're willing to be brave and be bold and not put up with any less than you deserve, any less that is meant for you. Um, and I think I think that when you're in your soul energy and not in your ego energy of needing external validation, needing all the attention to be on you, needing everyone to be attracted and drawn to you and pulled into you, needing that external validation. Things like selfishness and greed and self-centeredness and being mean to others and mistreating others. Those are all ego stuff because we are not being true to ourselves. Being kind to others is not a logical thing. It is a soul-centered thing. And being loving to others, I'm just going to say it at this point in the video, because I get very, very annoyed when people, tell me, oh, think about how your words and actions impact others, and don't be so selfish, and consider others. And why didn't you think of other people? Why you all this? Well, here's what I'm going to say to them. That's a reflection of them. You know what state of being that you're in. You know what part of yourself that you're in, either your ego or your soul. I mean, you should know based off of the different energy feel. You know what feels true and what doesn't feel true. Um, and being, really, really, in an ego, in a, and knowing that when people say, um, why are you so selfish? Why are you or this? Why are you or that? Well, it could either be one of two things. Either you're in your ego and they're just validating the fact that you're in your ego. You didn't do what felt right. You weren't true to yourself. You weren't loving to yourself. The universe is going to validate that. The universe is going to validate anytime we're not true to yourself and loving yourself and accept yourself as you by people who tell you, oh, you're so selfish, oh, you're so this. And sometimes it feels true because, oh, I what being really, really rigorously honest with yourself, like, okay, I was in my ego. I was being selfish and angry and domineering and controlling and narcissistic, and it's all about me, 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 I. However, you know, it is a reflection of them when you know the state of being that you are in. You know if you're in a place of love and truth about yourself, in a place of personal sovereignty and personal authenticity, and being very, very connected with your soul and with the part of you that loves and accepts you as you are, being very, very loving in that sense. And yet, when the other person says, "Oh, you're so selfish," you should think about how your actions impact others. You should be more self aware, or self analysis is very important. That is a statement that is coming from them and their own judgments and not from you. So recognize when it's coming from them and not from you. Recognize when it's a reflection of them and not when it's a reflection of you. If you know that you are sovereign in your personal truth, in your soul, with focusing on yourself and focusing on what you want and what you deserve in this life and what you need and what feels true and kind to yourself to do when you're doing what you love to do, doing what is in your soul to do, doing what you authentically want to do in your life. And others are saying, you're so selfish, you should think about other people, then that is on them. That is a reflection of them. They do not know you. They can't make assumptions about you because they're not in your skin. They don't know what you feel. They don't know what you feel on a soul level. They don't know if you're coming from a place of truth or not. They don't know what you feel. They don't know what version you're in, either the ego or the soul. They um are coming at it from an outside force. Realize that they are not necessarily in your body, in your skin. So what right do they have to make such claims that you are being selfish when they are not living in your skin, when they are not living in your body, when they're not doing the same things that you are? How can they say all that stuff? And that is selfish. Other people telling you that you are selfish, they're being selfish. You should think about me. Why are you thinking so much about yourself? You should be thinking about me. Oh, you were so selfish. You're just. No. That's them being in their egos and them being selfish. Like, do not talk about gratitude and selflessness and all these kind of things and humility in an ego way, because that's where we get all the negative conditioning and all the negative passed down the pipelines of all the family lines and all the negative stigmas um negative messages that we internalize about these things. And all these limiting beliefs get formed because others are judging us. And all these wounds get formed of our sense of self because of others judging us and depriving ourselves, saying that we're a bad person if we focus on ourselves, and shaming us and judging us for being in our authenticity, judging ourselves on an individual level. They are judging us. And when they judge us, it leads to insecurity about the self because they think that we are selfish and all that. And then we turn in on ourselves and we don't like ourselves because we allow the outside world to we define ourselves and our very being and our very um life and existence and beliefs about ourselves and feelings about ourselves and self-esteem and self-worth based off of others. And they define us, and when they give us the validation that we're a good person or whatever, then that's one thing. But if they tell us that we're a selfish, mean, spoiled, ungrateful, whatever person, controlling person, whatever, then we internalize these messages and then we judge ourselves. Then we do not like ourselves. And that does not lead to a secure sense of self. That does not lead to a place of self-love. So anytime when I'm discussing the shadows of Aries, it's all in the ego. The shadow of Aries is being ego driven. when children are born. They are not when children become two or children. They are, it's not that they're in their soul and they're wanting all these things. They are so much in their egos because they don't know how to tap into the difference yet. They don't know how to tap into the different feelings and the true feelings between the egoic, selfish needs and desires and what the soul wants. You're born into this world, you're so connected to your soul and your intuition or whatever, and then boom, you hit two, you hit age two, and they call it the terrible twos for a reason. And then, like, what I would say to my younger self, my my little self is, get out of your ego and just surrender to what feels right and true without needing to always get what you want all the time, always need what you want all the time, always need all the attention focused on yourself when you can love yourself and say, I am enough, I have enough, I am good enough, I'm worthy, I'm beautiful, I'm loved. And then you're not selfish. So you see what I'm talking about here. So being kind to others and considering others and 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 considering how your actions impact others, do you really need to do that if you're living from a soul-centered place? I don't think so, because the consideration for others, the thinking of others, is a byproduct of you being in your soul, being in your authenticity, and doing what you really want and what you really feel is right for yourself. What you really feel is true for you and sovereign for you, and in alignment with what your soul wants, in alignment with your truth, your personal truth, and the love that you have for yourself. It's a byproduct. So any conditioning that says put others before yourself, get rid of that. Because it's basically saying deny your soul, deny your truth, deny your needs, wants, and desires from your soul. You could argue that desires are an ego thing, but from your soul, all that you want from your soul with how to nourish yourself, with how to take care of yourself, how to give yourself exactly what you want, how to go after your passions, how to, do all this stuff for yourself because you love and care about yourself. Um, really, um, um, how to express your heart's desire, how to allow yourself to be as open and expansive as possible with expressing your heart's desire, being an individual, taking care of being nourished, and giving yourself enough food, giving yourself enough water, taking care of your body, feeding your own mind with what you want to learn about, taking care of your emotional well-being, taking care of your health, having relationships that are true for you. Because any relationship with a person says like, "Oh, you're so selfish, you're this, you're that," that's not the right relationship for you because they are ego, and your soul, and you may be soul, whatever. But if they are saying that, they are truly validating that. Okay, 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 if they can be compassionate, like, okay, you're doing it again, you're being controlling, whatever, then you can recognize that within yourself and go, okay, there I go again. I'm going to catch myself from that tendency to get into my ego and drop into what's true. Because, I mean, when we get ourselves into that, it can be, it can be a slippery slope. I mean, we have a tendency to get into the ego, and there are self-known placements for a reason, because those are our tendencies. It's about dropping into our soul parts of ourselves, and so we are letting go of these negative tendencies of being in the ego, being in, whatever, the the selfish part of who we are. Be with right relationships, harmonious relationships, healthy relating where they respect you and you respect them, where you are both authentic and living from your souls and not having to think about like it's not a like I think that we expect it to be like a mental thing, like we're thinking about how we should like we're censoring ourselves and we're dimming our light because we're so afraid of what others are going to think of us because we're so quote unquote needing to be self-aware, being self-aware. Well, you know what the downside of self-awareness is? It can limit us from our authenticity. Too much self-awareness, too much of that can be leading to what is inauthentic. So we do. It's not about overthinking and censoring yourself and being in indecisiveness and being in all the mind struggles and the mental anguish of worrying that what we're going to say and what we're going to do is going to hurt others. No, it is dropping in to what is true for us and speaking from that truth. That's what it really is. It's about being connected to our soul, it's about healing, going through our shadow work, facing our shadows. It's also about exploring what we want to explore, expand, going on a soul level. It's about building up the life that we want for ourselves, combining the best of both worlds, combining logic and ego, logic with the soul to aid the soul, to aid the soul, building up a life with self-respect, to not care what others think of us when we are in our connected soul-centered place. And we are loving and acting from that place of being in our souls, being in our truth. And, well, trusting our intuition is the final piece of the puzzle. Trusting our intuition, doing what feels right, not getting caught in logic, with not staying at not always having to, oh, I promised this person I would give them this, I promised this person this, I have to stay in that because this other person wants me to, this other person needs me there. No, no. Oh my god, so strict families who require the children put in effort and are like, I authentically want to rest and take a break because I am tired and I am worn out and I need to nourish myself. I need to think about myself. Okay, how come you're so deserving? How come you're so entitled? You're not. How come you're more deserving than everybody else? We all have to work really, really hard. Well, you don't have to work very hard. You can all take care of yourselves. Like, no. If I was in that family, you know what? No. You can do it. I'm not going to do it because that is sucking me right down to something that's very, very low vibration. And that's a negative side of fairness because making it so fair that no one is in their soul, having to be equitable, that way everyone's in the mind and logic. So we want a fair world, a more harmonious world, yes. We want equality and love with equality, to love others from a soul-centered place, but not mental, oh, okay, what am I doing? And is it fair to somebody else? Oh, if what am I doing? Is this fair? Like, oh my goodness, being so indecisive about what I'm doing. Um, um, and overthinking what we are doing because we're afraid of the impact that it has on others. Overthinking and not actually taking action and not taking a leap of faith and not acting on our soul desires and not doing taking action on upon what feels right. So this whole thing about, you know, well, oh, just put others before yourself and consider the actions that you have upon others. That's very, very simplistic. And if you're in a soul-centered place, then that is the person projecting and assuming and coming from their own opinions that they don't know who you, they're not in your skin, so they can't make those assumptions about you. And when you're in your ego, you make all kinds of assumptions about people. Make all kinds of assumptions about people's lives, and you're just so confident that know um know so much about them and being very, very, very prideful and you know, huge, you know, larger than life in terms of your egoic way of being. So I'm not gonna say that videos. Consider how your interactions impact others. And if I do, understand that I'm coming from an ego place. Notice when you're in your ego. And when you're in your soul, you just can be your normal self. And the actions that you take and the words that you say will naturally be good for others. Naturally be accepted and liked and being when you're in your soul and your authenticity, you are also kind and caring and loving and compassionate towards others. You know, you are like that if you're in your soul. And that's what I want to say in this episode of the Real Me podcast about being in your soul, not your ego. The picture here shows someone living from a soul-centered place. Very, very, Luke's very, attractive image here of somebody, uh, in the like the I guess the Scottish or Irish, mountainside and hillside. And obviously, this woman is a very, very beloved, very, very spiritual person, I would assume. So anyway, that's my spiel on this. Anything else that I have to add to this? You've got to not care what other people think of you. You got to understand what's a reflection of them. It is perfectly okay for myself to advocate for my own needs. And oh, why are you so selfish? Why are you not thinking of me? Whatever. Well, in my soul, I need this. It feels right. It feels true. And I'm advocating for this. And you're telling me that I'm selfish? Well, guess what? Not my side of the street to clean up. A reflection of them. A reflection of them. This is my belief. And I will not be in situations where this belief is challenged because this is my very, very strong belief that I choose to live by and choose to live in with this going on. And will I be older and be in a situation where this belief is contradicted and things clash with it, or things, or this belief gets challenged? Will I? I don't think I will, and I certainly don't hope that I am. So anyway, I want to leave it at that. Thank you for tuning into this episode of the Real Me Podcast. I'll be back for another episode. I'll be back for another episode, whatever it is. And ciao, everybody.